Former EastEnder Cheryl Ferguson reveals secret cancer battle and Barbara Windsor's heartwarming support. Cheryl Ferguson, known for her role as Heather Trott in EastEnders, bravely shares her journey of battling womb cancer and the unexpected kindness from Barbara Windsor. Her story inspires women to prioritize health checks. Cheryl Ferguson, an EastEnder, discusses why it took her years to disclose her cancer diagnosis. The former EastEnder Cheryl Ferguson has opened up about being diagnosed with womb cancer and how Barbara Windsor's kind gift supported her during a trying time. From 2007 to 2012, Ferguson portrayed the beloved Heather Trott in the serial opera. She left the show after Heather tragically died at the hands of Ben Mitchell. Ferguson, 58, said last month that she was given a womb cancer diagnosis in 2015. She no longer has cancer. The soap star said that she decided to wait to talk about her experience until now because she wanted to come out as open to employment chances and because she was coping with the news personally. She made this revelation on Wednesday when she appeared on the ITV panel show Loose Women. "I had to process a lot of it, so I kept it quiet for a long time," she remarked. Additionally, "It's challenging in our line of work because there is no income if you are not working, you must continue to work. Thus, our focus was to maintain my recovery while wearing a smile after my surgery. At the moment that I realized I had it, a lot of psychological things were happening to me." By the end of 2023, Ferguson, who has also starred in Netflix's Hard Sell, said she was motivated to crack on with her life. "It wasn't until almost the end of the previous year that I finally decided to just stop and move on," the woman remarked. The performer subsequently stated that she wanted to share her story to encourage women to pay closer attention to their bodies since, had she not repeatedly sought medical guidance, she might not have discovered her illness. "I feel like I wouldn't be here today if I hadn't taken action on what was going on with me," the speaker said. Ferguson described the symptoms that finally lead to her diagnosis. She mentioned that she had been worried about a backache and blood spots, but her screening test had come back clear. She stated, "It just didn't feel right. I'm thinking that you need to go and take care of this." In just 3 months, from the time I had the smear to the time I returned to the doctor, was seen again, and underwent a tiny biopsy, they informed me that I had stage 2 cancer. "We don't often have a smear for another 3 years, so I'm just saying pay attention to your body, see a doctor, and get it done. Because you know yourself and it saves lives, it doesn't matter that you're bothering others." Speaking about the assistance she's received, Ferguson mentioned that Steve McFadden and Linda Henry, 2 of her EastEnders co-stars, have been especially supportive. She mentioned that when the late Barbara Windsor, who portrayed the famous landlady Peggy Mitchell for Queen Vic, paid her a visit, she was very giving. "I went to the bathroom and told them everything that was happening and that I would be having surgery very soon," Ferguson remarked. "When I returned, Barbara Windsor's husband, Scott, was waiting for me with a checkbook, and she asked, 'So, what are your bills?' And she actually sent me a check to assist with paying my mortgage and other expenses." That I'm crying, but I just remembered that there are individuals like this and that it's incredible how giving people can be. I will always be appreciative. Tonight, a BBC EastEnders villain faces elimination as their exit is sealed following a devastating confession. Fans of the BBC soap opera EastEnders will witness the potential moment when a nasty character is exposed, as his unsettling actions surface on Wednesday. In the upcoming episode of EastEnders, fans will see the confrontation of a villain as his repugnant deeds are revealed. After a courageous choice made by another character on Tuesday night, the character may finally meet his demise. With the confirmation of other victims, Pastor Clayton could now finally face the repercussions of his heinous assault on Yolanda Truman. When Yolanda confessed in Elaine Peacock following her sexual assault by Pastor Clayton, viewers were devastated. She disclosed to Elaine that she had experienced inappropriate touching, causing her to struggle as a result. She kept what had occurred to her a secret from other people, and Clayton has since pretended nothing had happened. In a recent episode, viewers learned that Pastor Clayton has raped and attacked several women, some of whom came forward to denounce his crimes, at least during the previous 10 years. However, he got away with it. Fans witnessed Yolanda, who asked Elaine to speak for her, finally open up to her husband Patrick Truman about her ordeal on Tuesday. At the conclusion of the tearful ordeal, Yolanda made the decision to inform the church authorities about her assailant. Fans will witness the consequences of this choice and the scene where Patrick approaches Pastor Clayton on Wednesday. Yolanda wants to go alone, but he wants to help her as she goes to denounce him to Levi. When she informs Levi about the sexual assault she suffered at the hands of Pastor Clayton, he is moved by her courage and immediately agrees to look into her complaint. Could this therefore be the turning point that brings Pastor Clayton's horrible deeds to an end? Could it inspire additional victims to come forward now that Yolanda has brought his misdeeds to the church's attention? The audience has demanded that the antagonist face his demise, and they trust Yolanda's public statement will bring it about. George Knight's risky choice on EastEnders is broadcast on BBC iPlayer.in. The most recent episode of EastEnders, George Knight seemed to make a possibly fatal choice in response to some really concerning health news. After discovering the startling reality about his origins and adoption, including the fact that his adoptive father Eddie Knight killed Henry Kofi Asare, his biological father, in a hate crime, George found it difficult to accept who he was and started fighting in secret even after suffering serious injuries. George refused to stop his new hobby despite the efforts of his friend Phil Mitchell and ex-wife Cindy Beale to stop him. After learning that George had not attended his late adoptive mother Gloria Knight's funeral, his daughters Anna and Gina organized a memorial service so the family could say their final goodbyes to Gloria. George was struck a further painful blow. Although fans will be aware that former Emmerdale star Micah Balfour will soon be featured in the part of Junior, George was heartbroken that his estranged son Junior had not replied to his or the girls' messages. After giving a moving eulogy for Gloria, George passed away from vertigo and clouded vision and collapsed to the ground while leading a toast. With a knowing glance, Phil and Cindy revealed their covert knowledge of George's recent whereabouts. At the hospital, Dr. Brady's talk with Cindy, Gina, Anna, and George's fiancée Elaine Peacock was also overheard. After examining George's scans, the physician rejected George's explanations for his symptoms, stating that something more recent was the cause. She clarified that George most likely suffered from chronic traumatic encephalopathy, a brain illness that can cause memory loss due to recurrent head trauma. When Dr. Brady disclosed that George might die from one more knock, the clan was horrified. George was allowed to leave the hospital, but not before confessing to Cindy's involvement and having to acknowledge that he had been fighting. George vowed never to fight again, but Cindy was subsequently taken aback when she saw him having a covert meeting with Rufus, where he was enthusiastically informed about the details of his next fight in the underground ring. Will George realize what's going on, or is he staging his own demise? Please subscribe our channel.